I was so disappointed. It was white.
Okay, I'm going to drop this meeting now. Okay, there we go away.
Sleepy GPT, Protoplasm. Let's see, it's still recording. Okay, well, that's good to know.
Okay, now I'm in.
That's your Linux box?
Yeah, this is my Linux laptop. It's got 32 gigs and a 1 terabyte SSD, and it's used and it's 4K screen, and I got it for like $290.
Wow.
Yeah. And I use it every day. It's way better than my work laptop. My work laptop is like 6 or 7 years old.
Which version of Linux you're running?
I've talked about this before. Okay. It's a version that's specifically called Endeavor, but it's based on a distribution called Arch.
Oh yeah, Arch. I know. I've never done Arch. I know about Arch.
Arch is a good distribution.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you using it for? I'm curious. Are you running to run? What do you see? It's a remote desktop, right? You're using it to do remote desktop.
No, I hardly ever use remote desktop. I do everything on this Linux machine.
What do you do? I mean, specifically, like,
what do I do?
I mean, what do you use it for? Like Excel, Word, what, I mean,
oh,
80%
of the time is Teams, Microsoft Teams. Okay.
So 80% of Microsoft Teams.
Okay. The other 20% is probably a PowerPoint clone called Free Office. So Free Office is actually quite good.
So Free Office, 10% of the time, 80% Microsoft Teams, right? Okay, got it.
And maybe, a few percent Zoom, like this session.
Right. Okay.
But what I also do is I try and experiment with some of the open source GPT tools and trying different models. So I'm trying to do that more and more, but I can't say it's significant yet. I've done it like once, but I want to do more.
Have you played with Llama 2 yet?
Yeah, Llama 2 is quite popular, but the nice tools allow you to switch models around. But in actuality, we're using, for production right now, we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo. And once it's working, then we'll get to experiment with others.
Yeah.
That's for your work?
Yeah.
That's for your work?
That's right.
There is one site, the name of which I now forget. Is it Poe? Is Poe the one that offers you a brief number of attempts of half a dozen different models? I think that's the one. Poe. I think it's Poe.com.
Yeah, I haven't tried that.
Claude, it's got ChatGPT, it's got, I forget the names of them, but most of them you don't get very many prompts before they throttle you.
If you install open source models and you install these tools locally, you can do it locally, and you can actually put your own content in a folder and train it on that content and ask it questions.
You need a super powerful machine to do that. I don't have any
GPT-enabled machine, right? Otherwise, it's very, very slow. Sorry, not GPT, a GPU-enabled machine.
Yes, you have to have a high-end GPU.
Yeah, you'd have to have Sam send you a couple GPUs, right?
Well,
right.
I found a really nice use for an old Dell laptop. Up until 2017, Dell laptops continued to provide IEEE 1394 iLink inputs. And they're the only machine I have that I can use a Sony Handycam on because it has a iLink DV output. And if you want to stream from an iLink, really nice Zeiss zoomable, but you got to have a Dell laptop of about 5 to 10 years old to get a.
It's true about all old hardware, isn't it, Barry? All old hardware requires old compatible devices.
Well, that's the whole point, is that this guy has this really, really nice Sony Handycam, but you got to have iLink. And I thought, well, can you adapt from iLink FireWire 400 to 800 to Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3 USB-C? And the answer is yes for about $100, and it may or may not work with Zoom on a modern Mac. So,
I mean, if it's a selectable camera, why not?
Say that again.
If it's a selectable camera, then why wouldn't it be?
Oh, because the only Zoom that I know for a fact can drive the iLink is the version of Zoom on Windows. The version of Zoom on the Macintosh, I don't know. I found that the version of Zoom on Linux doesn't support much anything.
Okay. All right.
In fact, the 32-bit version of Zoom on Linux doesn't even work. It comes up with a completely blank window. In fact, you can't to download the 32-bit version of Linux Zoom. You got to go find an old version of it someplace. They don't even offer it anymore on the Zoom website.
So can we switch topics from old hardware?
Yeah.
You guys like to check in?
I'm good.
I have a question.
Before I forget, I just put a link for the NASA Fire thing on the chat box.
Okay.
So if you want to click on it, you can see the fire around your neighborhood.
Oh. Oh, wait, this is 113.5. This is probably your coordinates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, just in case you're interested, see how much fire you have up there versus
okay.
down here.
Thermal anomalies. Okay.
The reason there's fire because there's green.
Fire
a lot of green. But down here we have no fire because there's no green.
Jeez, look at all that in Western Canada. Jeez.
Yeah. The more green you have, the more vegetation you have to burn.
Whoa.
The more desert you are, the less fire you're going to have.
Yowza. Jeez. Yeah, so stuff east
you see
of
how
Seattle.
The East Coast, there's not much going on the East Coast because that's
right. Yeah, this is a nice depiction of it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a question regarding how we collaborate. Either we can keep things in a conversational mode, or Barry, as you often do, and Sam, you're doing also, between meetings, there's some text going back and forth, but it's all a linear stream on Facebook Messenger because that's all Facebook Messenger does. I was curious because well, I actually have a preferred tool, but I'm not about to propose that yet because I'm not sure you guys will be open to that. But I'll propose something else, and then we'll talk about that preferred tool. So you guys know Facebook just recently announced Threads, right? Have you guys taken a look at it? Is it any good?
I'm not even sure I remember seeing the announcement. I may have seen the announcement, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Threads is supposed to be the Twitter killer, and that's why these two guys are going to go and do a cage match, right? They're competitors.
Oh, it's not on Facebook. It's Meta's another product.
It's Meta's competitor to Facebook.
Okay, no, I haven't been on it. I think I did see the announcement, but I haven't been on it.
So
yeah, I've been on it, just so you know, Sam. It sucks.
Yeah, I found the UI horrible. Okay, and it was not intuitive.
Just delete the app. I already deleted it. It's terrible. Been on it for almost a month.
Yeah, I signed up the day that it got announced, and I thought, they're really serious? This is a final version of software? So, okay. So forget
that version. Alpha version.
Yeah, it's Zuckerberg for you.
The meta
anyway,
yeah. Move fast and break things, or move fast and produce something that doesn't even work.
That was what they did with the virtual device also, right? I mean, they spent reputedly $10 billion on it, and they got mocked.
Yeah,
I couldn't actually find a use for it. I bought that
metaverse
device.
Is what it was going to be, but
yeah,
crapola.
Yeah. So we'll see whether or not they continue working on it or release something else. Well,
Although I guess they did fund Llama 2. They put a bunch of money into the company that makes Llama 2, but they
they've
didn't
been
make it
doing a
themselves.
lot of AI.
Yeah.
In fact, they open source something very nice, FAISSL. Do you guys know that one or remember that?
No.
That's called Facebook's AI Semantic Similarity Library, Semantic Search Library. So that's actually nice that they open sourced it. So Facebook is actually quite good in contributing those kind of things to the open source community.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So for threaded discussions, okay, I'm finding that at work we use GitHub discussions, and that is fabulous. I love GitHub discussions. I don't know if you guys have ever tried it.
I've maybe seen a few, but I hardly ever use GitHub. I've used it 2 or 3 times, I think, ever.
So several years ago, I created a GCC account in GitHub or a repo. I think it's only a repo at the moment. But each repo, even if you're not doing software, it allows you to carry forth discussions. So any post can have responses to it, and any response could have a response to it. So it's actually, branchy in that sense. So you can actually follow the topics you specifically want to follow, and you can ignore other stuff that's not on that topic. So I find threaded discussions a way to stay focused on particular streams of reasoning or arguments or debates or whatever, okay? And I find it much, much better than linear discussions. So linear discussions, like, you just get onto one channel and boom, everything's on that one channel. And you have to sort through all the stuff about baseball. And you have to sort through all the stuff about, whatever else to get to the topic that you really want. That's, I think, distractive for being focused. So anyway, I'm not sure that GCC is ready, or even members of GCC are, ready to adopt something on GitHub, which is kind of like a geek's tool. But I find that I like it. So anyway, those are the kind of things I've been experimenting with. Threads, yeah, I was disappointed in Threads. Twitter's not much better. There's no topic orientation in Twitter. It's still just one linear stream. And I know that there's been other threaded discussion tools that have been proposed in the last 5-6 years, but they don't seem to get adopted. People don't seem to want to, have threaded discussions. People seem to be used to this linear form, and it's easy. Facebook Messenger is like that. Even, they use Slack kind of even like that, although Slack does allow a crude form of threaded discussions. Anyway, that's my rambling. I was still trying to figure out how we better collaborate between these real-time sessions. That's just a thought. Over.
Yeah. The social networks are people-centric. They're not project-centric or topic-centric. Back in the early days of net news, the discussions were topic-centric. And you would end up finding the people of your tribe who were interested in the same topics. But Facebook and other social networks, they're people-centric. They're not topic-centric or project-centric.
Yeah, great point, Barry. So from my perspective, I'm looking at it from a structure perspective, right? So you have the why you do something, you have the what do you do, and you have the how you do it, and then the who want to do it, right? So if you look at it from that meta perspective, right? So what you were talking about, Sam, just now was talking about how we do things, what's a better tool to do this, and how we do it. So this tool or that tool is all that stuff. The trouble with tool is, from my perspective, is that it doesn't come into existence until you have a compelling reason to do something. That people remember when I do something, I have to give up something else I need to do. Right. So you need to, you're in competition with something else that you can do. For example, if Barry talking to us and all of a sudden the neighbor's lady come and knock the door right now, something going on in her place and she needed. So the comparison he get pulled away from it. So during work hours, I'm busy about running my business and making sure I keep my employee employed and all that stuff and make sure the customer is happy and put out fires and all that. I don't have the space or comparison to take me away from the livelihood I'm making or whatever you want to call that. So again, it's remind you that the why we want to do something that has a fire underneath it that can give you the comparison so that you can give up something else you're about to do and doing this. So the why is important. The what is not so important because the what only come after the why is solid. So again, some people have the what and don't need the why. Okay, but why is always on top. The what is the second layer if you want to think of it that way. Some people say, I want this because everybody else has it, but that's a why. That's not a what. So, and also the how always come after the what. Because unless you have what you need to do, the how, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want to decide, who cares? And who does it, that tie back to the why. They have a compelling reason, like Steve Jobs need to survive and need to be famous so that he creates something that people don't even know they need yet, like that. So it's like the who has the capability, the why, all that stuff. So if that makes sense, what I'm saying, rumbling around, but those are the four structure that whatever you do, if you can put a meta, I call it meta tag, the tag in, that's the key here. Otherwise, you just get very disorganized and destructured.
So my why is very tactical. I can't find things. Linear conversation that's text, I can't find things. Okay. And Facebook Messenger doesn't really have good search. So I just can't find things. And yet, we're still interacting with each other via text. So it's not some huge, super compelling why. It's just an irritating why. I can't find things. I do understand, though, that without a super compelling why, it's hard to get everybody else, like you two or you three, to use a tool that you're not familiar with. Okay. So it's just expressing a little thought that comes every year or so.
Do you want to say something, Joshua? I saw you put your hand up there.
Yeah, we were just talking about. I really love what.
Frozen?
He got
Just froze. He'll switch to the other technology in it. So he's got like 3 technologies there.
Yeah, some major trouble in the what.
Yeah.
I'm back.
You're
Don't
back.
worry, just thanks for your patience. Google has finally integrated into their workspace accounts. I don't know. Does everyone here have a workspace account? Do you have one? No, you guys don't have?
Isn't that what Gmail is now called? Workspace?
No, Workspace is
it's the professional paid version of Google Suite. So in other words, it's not open to the public where they're advertising to you. You own it. You own the rights to it. So it's something that we could use. But I'm saying they're integrating all the AI features into it. So they just announced that this week at the Next. But I'm just saying, as far as tools, I can't think of any more tools that we would ever need than all the Google tools. Especially with Gemini coming out, I think you'd be very interested in that, Barry, the Gemini. And that's what they're using to build it on, as well as Duet. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Duet.
That's the technology substructure.
Yeah, so I'm just popping in to say, to answer the question why to play with fun tools that will probably be integrated with most of the people in the world, either have Google like Gmail or Messenger, like they're either in the Facebook world or the Google world. And some are still in the enterprise world. They're usually Microsoft. But I'm saying if we were to have more people come, most people have a Gmail account, which means they could integrate with us, even if they don't have the paid version.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Microsoft have the Copilot on the AI tools on the Microsoft Suite. Yeah.
Yeah. And Google has their own version of Copilot, is what I'm saying, is they're about to kick ChatGPT's ass. So I'm just saying something that'll be around in a year from now would be the Googles.
Is it better than Bard? Because Bard's kind of disappointing.
Yes, it's better than Bard.
Yeah. It's a low bar. Yeah. Bard is
It's a low bar. Exactly. Yep.
I mean, in some way, Bard, I love about Bard is it's more current data, but that's about only edge that it has, nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as politically correct as ChatGPT also. It's less annoying from that perspective. For me. You know, that ChatGPT last paragraph, ultimately, blah, 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 right? In the end, blah, 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 blah. So it always has to like give a caveat that says, well, you know, everything else is possible.
Platitudes.
Yeah, I kind of hate that.
Platitude at the end.
Okay, anyway, that thought didn't go very far.
Well, I'll say one thing, because you have people-centric, you have topic-centric, project-centric, and then the one that I tend to focus on is media-centric. Whenever a new medium of communication becomes available, people, the early adopters, and I tend to be a little bit late as an early adopter, but what I found is that if you have a message that you've been trying to communicate unsuccessfully for a long time, if you communicate it in an innovative new medium, that people will attend to it, not because of the message, but because they want to see somebody use the new medium. And the most successful things I've ever done came out on a then new medium. And that's how I got my audience. And I did manage to get the message across to a few people, but it wasn't the message, it was the medium. The medium is the message. That's the Marshall McLuhan's famous observation that, like, for example, in the pioneering days of television, you had Bernie Kovac's innovative use of the medium. You had Milton Berle, innovative use of the medium. And you had Rune Arledge, innovative use of the medium. I normally wouldn't watch sports, but I watched sports because Rune Arledge was showing you how I could use this fabulous new technology in ways that, you know, wasn't just talking heads like we have here today. So, you know, the aurora behind me, that's a feature of the medium that's kind of makes it a little more interesting than sitting here watching, you know, Barry jabber on with a window behind him in his kitchen.
I would say that instead of using the word medium, I think it's more like a tools, the platform, whatever you want to call that. It's medium is allow you to do the things that you are not able to do before.
Yeah, PowerPoint was a new medium, and people exploited it because you could do graphics and text and bullet points and even embed multimedia. But they found after a while that PowerPoint puts people to sleep.
Yeah. As you're explaining it, I was thinking about, 25 years ago when the internet gets started, I'm leveraging the internet to be able to gather all the inventory from all the distributors and then put in one place. And I call it like almost like a free market. I have the spot. I can have as much room, as much surface area as I need. It costs me the same amount of money. So who the heck? I'm going to put billions of products in it. And that's how I got going, a big step in, to be the largest computer store on the internet ever, That's how it was done.
A decade ago, they came out with cartoon animation. You give a cartoon dialogue script, and it makes these little cartoon avatars, and they talk it and provide the voice. And it was a new medium, and it was free for like a year or two so that we get people to use it. I put out, I don't know, half a dozen examples, and they got attention. And then they went to had to pay for it, and that was the end of that. But always the next new medium, YouTube, you name it, whatever the medium is, for a while, it's the cat's pajamas. And then it gets old and saturated and nobody really gets the messages anymore.
Would you be allowing more dimensions? So think of it like you have auditory, text, black and white. Now you got visual, you got motion, make visual. Like YouTube is a medium, obviously, but PowerPoint is a medium. It's sort of like it's a more creative way of presenting data in the way that is on the slides matters, stuff like that.
But simulation animation, when simulation came out, that was the new darling of research, to do computer animated simulations. And I exploited computer animated simulations, back in the, 70s, 80s, 90s, I guess 80s. And then it kind of became old hat, and it kind of lost the audience.
So another way of saying it, if I want to flip this around, what kind of medium do we need so that the collaboration will be more successful?
Well, I think that the most successful medium is dramaturgy, plays and dramas, whether the dramas are in film or television or, Netflix. If you can take a message and turn it into a soap opera or a play or an opera, comic opera, you have to have it's the medium that really draws the attention at first until it becomes old hat. Who watches television anymore? But everybody watched television in the 1950s and 60s. It was the new medium. And FM radio was the new medium for music. And AM radio was the new medium in the 1920s and 30s. Movies were the new medium in the 1930s and 40s. The internet was the new medium, in the 1990s? YouTube and Zoom was the new medium.
FaceTime.
Then it becomes saturated,
FaceTime.
Yeah, FaceTime.
Right,
FaceTime goes back to what? The early 2000s, I think, was FaceTime.
Well, whenever the iPhone comes out.
Yeah. So people are enamored of new media for 5 years, 10 years, and then it becomes old hat.
MySpace.
Yeah, they didn't last very long, did they?
AOL.
Yeah.
The MUDs, when all we had was low bandwidth text,
BBS.
but we had multi-user simulation environments, the dungeon worlds or whatever. And, the computer games, they were the new media starting in the 80s. You really have to appreciate what Marshall McLuhan was pointing out. The medium is often the message more than the content. I remember Ernie Kovacs, not for his comedy, but for his innovative use of the medium.
So if we talk about that, like modem is a medium, BBS is a medium.
Exactly. Or the computer keyboard with the GUI interface and the mouse.
The text version is a medium. The text allowed to have a prompt.
The blog was the new medium. Now the blogs that I wrote 20 years ago, Google search doesn't support search of blogs anymore. In the early days, if I did a search, I could find my blogs. Now, if I do a Google search, it doesn't even know I have a blog. It became saturated with junk. It's a race to the bottom in terms of, gets flooded with crap content, craptastic content.
So again,
how many people watch these videos?
Right. Again, what's a medium that's necessary to create so that we can collaborate better or something along that line?
Color television. The very first color television broadcast was not NBC's compatible color. It was CBS's weird color. And there were, I think, 4 or 5 towns that were in the very first televised color cast. But there were only like 6 physical sets in the whole world. So each town had one set. And it had a very, very small audience. Maybe 100 people watched the very first color TV show on broadcast television from using the CBS system.
Yes, Sam.
So Barry, I think that your proposition that dramaturgy is the best medium, I think that might work for communication. If you're trying to share ideas and trying to share them compellingly, theater, stories, I think that works.
Yeah.
But there's a different use case, which is if you want to create something. if you're going to create something that works, that's in a sense the job of engineering or even writing. Okay. So a creation among collaborators, in my mind, first thing that's required is shared memory.
Yeah.
A shared memory is not an easy concept to get people to accept. In fact, I'm surprised and appalled how long it's taking, because I've been trying to communicate this need about shared memory for 7 years now, and it doesn't look like, it's been effective. I've been very ineffective doing so. But unless you've got shared memory, you've got very inefficient co-creation capabilities.
Yeah.
You got to have one place where that thing is being created. And if it's here in my brain and it's also in your brain, it ain't the same thing. It's not real, true collaboration in my mind. Over.
Either for thousands of years,
a plethora of versions, which again is a Tower of Babel problem.
In fact, well, that's the whole point, is that the Tower of Babel story appears in the very first book that's still around today. Was written almost 4,000 years ago, an oral tradition, the oral storytelling tradition, which preceded the written book. I mean, people would tell these same stories. They were in rhyme and meter, so you could help to memorize them. But the stories evolved. I mean, the telephone thing where you tell a story around the campfire, and by the time it gets back, recognize it.
So,
yep. Josh has something to say.
Yeah, you were talking about never getting the shared memory to work, and I just had an idea, Sam. Are you guys familiar with I don't know if you follow astrophotography or anyway, they just found a new comet, an unprofessional astronomer. He's found 3 so far. And the way that they name the comet is really interesting, where they use a number system with letters for the time of the year they found it, the type of comet it is, et cetera, and so forth. So what if you used a system that we cleverly engineer that in the end creates a hashtag that individually identifies each person in the group, and then we use that to tag all of our messages, and we publish it anywhere we want. As long as it's on the internet, it's a shared collective memory if it's using part of the tag with that message. So you could just search whatever GCC dash, and then you'll find it. You put in the thing that you're looking for, plus the name of either the person or the time that we had the conversation, such as this Saturday would be one of the identifiers. Like there's 52, it would be 1 through 52 on there. So it would be 22, 23, whatever week it is, and then GCC or whatever. You get the message. You guys all get it. I think that would work excellently. And if people are not tagging their stuff properly, then they won't find it and they'll start to learn. But that's the fun. That's the why. It's why let's try and tag all of our stuff properly. And let's build something that if it was tagged improperly, it could still find it and retag it properly in the metadata.
Yeah.
So I just think that would be a fun thing. Publish all over the web, go crazy, publish anywhere, as long as it's tagged properly. And that's part of becoming a GCC member, is learning that system, which is systems thinking. So I think I don't need to talk anymore, right? I made my point clear.
That's how my blogs are labeled. I have the name of the blog, Molten Lava, and every blog article has a title, and then it has the author, which is always me generally, because I don't have a co-authored blog, and the date. So everything that I wrote on Molten Lava has a title, a date as part of, and keywords. And often when I have an idea, I give it a name that's not just a dictionary name. It's either a phrase or a made up word or something, so that I can go back and find it. That's exactly how I did my writing when you started using public media like the internet. Go ahead, Sam.
So, isn't every blog already tagged that way?
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Right. So
at least on Blogger, maybe not other blogs, but bloggers tag that way.
Anyway, I do think that Josh's onto a couple of things, which is number one, content addressable memory and hashes representing certain content. In fact, that reminds me of IPFS. Those are a couple of the basic ideas underlying IPFS.
What does that
Which is,
stand
again, something that's geeky and early in its days of adoption. But again, this seems like it's a how without the Sam's point about compelling why. Anyway, the compelling why for me is the co-creation piece. If that is not accepted as a principle or a guideline, then none of these hows will actually take effect. I just wanted to say one more thing. I think it was over 10 IP, like Internet Protocol FS.
Internet Protocol File System?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's Vern, the guy that invented the internet, packet
Oh
switching.
yeah, Vern. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. He's also been working on that. I think, AKA the planetary file system, I think. So anyway, over 10 years ago, shortly after I became aware of Debian Linux, this is the idea that I thought I had, and it's not gone anywhere, but it's still recallable as a memory. Debian is supported by I believe it's an organization called SPI, Software in the Public Interest. And Debian has been one of the most solid, most long-lived, high-quality Linux distributions ever. In fact, most of the well-known distributions are based on Debian. Ubuntu, for example. But after that, I thought, I would really like to create a TLD. You guys remember what a TLD is?
Top level domain.
Exactly. I would like to create a KPI TLD. KPI for me stood for knowledge in the public interest. In other words, what if you could have, instead of a DNS, which addresses nodes and resources, what if you add a KPI, not a DNS, but a KNS, a knowledge naming service, that could actually then give you the right nodes of knowledge on any topic that you're interested in. So simple ones being astrophotography, love, HP computers, right?
No, isn't that an encyclopedia?
No. Because an encyclopedia is created by a single entity. Wikipedia is at a single node. What I'm talking about is an addressing scheme where anyone can create knowledge and plug it into the KPI. And there's, you only have to apply certain protocols before you can actually be a KPI node. Whereas one of your problems with Wikipedia is you don't like the protocols. So your content is not there on Wikipedia.
It's illegal for my content to be there.
Right. And even DNSs, they don't actually address knowledge. They address
sites.
And then you can actually put a URI on it to say, oh, this is about blah, blah, blah in the URA or the API endpoint. But it's not purely supporting knowledge. So this is a pipe dream I have. That, I'd like to launch a TLD called KPI, and that we actually structure a certain protocol so that people who want to contribute to certain topics, like, what's the best, blood sugar patch out there, could actually contribute and everyone could actually reference. Now, the cool thing about this is you would have links be various different types. You could have supporting links, you could have contradictory links, you could have related to links, you could have, authorship links, you could have cited by links, all these kinds of different links that would connect the various different pieces of knowledge. So anyway, that was a pipe dream I had. Over.
Yes, there's a site called Academia and others like it that try to.
Any single site is not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but what they do is they provide access to a whole bunch of academic articles, and they will connect your authors with your topics, with your ideas, and where you will find the papers. It's a clearinghouse, Go ahead, Joshua.
I was just going to share with you, Sam, I've had the same dream for about 25 years to do exactly what you just said. I think people that say, oh, no, that already exists, you can't do it, you won't find anyone. You just do it small, 15 people, 20, 30. If it ever gets popular, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think in other words, I support you 100%. I've been having the exact same dream for 25 years.
Yeah, I'd like to figure
and
out
it's
how
worth
to
it.
create.
Okay, so
Yeah, I tried and failed many, many times, but each time I learned something.
I
Learn why you failed.
I have very powerful people in my back that I know personally, a good friend of mine, co-creator of Samba. Okay. So if you can write this down clearly, specifically, know what to do and all that stuff, I mean, give me the specification. I'll be glad to hand it over to him and say, look, could you help us to do this?
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to write it up as an RFC.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Please. And now here's the other question. What I've always had trouble working with you is, do you even have my email, Sam?
You're at joshuabridge.com, right?
M is in Mary, E is in Edward, at joshuabridge.com. So please CC me on your requests.
I'll circulate it here so
to.
everybody here can actually provide feedback.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank
you. Yeah, thank you, Sam. That is a very concrete offer, and it tells me to put up or shut up. That's good.
Yeah, again, you have a compelling reason, I'm on it. Don't have a compelling reason. It's not so much that we are not buying into your compelling reason. It's just that you need to give me a compelling reason that I can relate to, that is compelling enough for me as well. It's not about my buying or not buying. It's just you don't have a choice when it comes to compelling reason.
Got it. Now I got some homework to do. Oh,
yeah.
Speaking of homework.
And before I forget,
yeah.
I also like you to start using, somehow we need to steer our discussion into GitHub because it's a huge, tremendous amount of resources and we are not even touching it. To me, that's a total waste. It's a gold mine and we're not even mining it at all.
Yes.
Arcane. It's technically arcane, hard to use unless you're an insider.
GitHub?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? You're saying it's technically arcane?
Yeah.
What's better?
Nothing's better, but it's technically arcane. Anything that's any good, it takes an expert to learn how to use it.
It's not about, look, it's not about using it. It's about if you need it. Think of it this way: you have a gold mine in your backyard, right? You don't need the money. You never go to pick up a gold coin because you don't need it. You don't need it. So I'm just saying that if you want to use it, it's there for you. You have all the source code, every single line, every comment, everything that's done. Every people that created, they want to share, it's all there. It's a gold mine in the backyard. You don't, it's nothing that you need to learn to use it.
That's right. Well, you do have to learn a little bit.
I had to learn what pip stood for and how to use a pip command. And I spent a couple of days just learning how to get stuff out of GitHub to install what should have been a turnkey program, but it wasn't turnkey. And the reason I was doing this is I wanted something that if you buy the commercial version, it's $100. And if you get it on GitHub, it's free, but it's going to take you a week to figure out how to download it and compile it and get it to run on your antique operating system.
Or you pay somebody $100 a month.
Right? So think of this way, it's in the backyard, but you have to go to open the back door, and you need to pick up the gold coin, and you need to go to a gold dealer to exchange the gold coin with the cash so that you can buy it with US dollar. But once you learn that one thing, you're all set, my friend.
That's right. Learning is a cost.
I wanted to put AirPlay on my older Macs that didn't have AirPlay. The new Macs have AirPlay, where you can not just do a screen share, but you can do a screen share and get the keyboard and the mouse and the audio from one computer to the next in your house. And my older computers didn't have AirPlay, and I thought I could download AirPlay or a clone of AirPlay off of GitHub, and I did, and it was a pain in the ass to do it. And I got it to work on some machines and not others.
So I think this plays into the compelling reason business. To me, there are compelling reasons to learn new methods, but my compelling reasons aren't necessarily anybody else's compelling reasons.
No.
So even though GitHub is the best place to actually share capability today, it's the best that anyone has ever created before. Okay. There's still close to 8 billion people who know nothing about how to do that.
Exactly.
But
you get a very
to me,
tiny high
the GitHub capabilities and tools and platform represent the very most powerful ways to collaborate that I know of today. Way, way better than just texting, way, way better than just conversation, way, way better than any other medium, to use your word, Barry.
The people who collaborate.
I'm surprised that you would call it arcane.
It is.
To me, something that's arcane is something that has no current use.
No, arcane in the sense that like auto mechanics is an arcane skill. Most people who can drive can't work on their own car. You got to go to an expert who knows how to work on a Mazda 626. That's what I mean by arcane. You can't do it yourself. When people's computers don't work, they have to bring them to a specialist.
I understand. Like the way that I translate arcane based on what you just say, it's more like there's a steep learning curve that most people will not be able to pass that.
Right. I can cook my own meals, but I can only cook half a dozen dishes that I can cook. If I go to a restaurant, I got hundreds of exotic dishes, but I could never do 100 exotic dishes in my kitchen. I can do a half a dozen pretty banal meals. That's it.
So there's a need for creating a tool that so that you can cook whatever dishes you want, like the one in the Starship, right?
Yeah.
I was just going to say they solved that problem, Barry. Called Hello Fresh. They send you the exact ingredients, the exact amounts. You just put it together.
I just sent you the link.
And they used to sell TV dinners too, where you would buy the whole dinner in a little frozen thing and stick it in the oven for 30 minutes, and that was a TV dinner, which is like airline food, right?
You got my message on the messenger?
Oh, Messenger, different place.
Yeah, I sent you direct messenger. I saw something that was exactly just for you, so you can cook your own meal.
Oh yeah. Primary. Yeah, and these are like, a meal's like $50.
No. Look at the price range. Look at the price range. If you click on the link, give you a price right there, $3.99, $4.99, plus with free shipping. Let me see if I can find a link for
$59.94.
For how many meals?
Price per serving is $5.
Yep, you got it.
But you got to sign up for a year's worth or something, I suppose. Hello Fresh, yeah.
The one
$59.94 for 3 meals for 2 people per week. Six meals is $60. Oh, because it serves 2 people.
Right.
So price per serving. So if you and your spouse are having 1 meal, that's $10.
Right.
And they will send you 3 meals for 2 people per week. So 3 days a week, you can feed 2 people at a sitting for $60. Now, I don't think I spend $60 for groceries for 2 weeks.
I just wanted to share with you, Barry, if you want to hack the system, you do so much posting on Facebook and the internet.
Yeah.
Just post your affiliate link to HelloFresh. Every person that signs up, you get free meals. So if you just keep doing that, you just keep getting many, many meals.
I don't have that many followers.
You'd be surprised. You post things in random places all over. And affiliate marketing, I'm very proud of the work that I did in that field, and it really worked. You just put the little link, and you'd be surprised how many people click it and go, oh, I didn't know you could get first 2 meals free. Let me try it. Why not?
I mean, when frozen pizza's on sale, which like every couple of months they have frozen pizza on sale. So for like $6, you can get a frozen pizza. And you can get what? Half a dozen varieties of pizza.
So I'm saying the reason I bring this up is because I think you can create an interface so that the GitHub could be more user-friendly.
Oh yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But the couple of times I tried to use it, it was arcane and a lot of work, a lot of time and a lot of work, and the product turned out not to be all that great.
Right. I agree. To me, you can think of it, instead of gold mine in the backyard, would be like the Home Depot. all the tools inside the Home Depot is free. You can take it home, you can try it, but it's not 100% perfect. Yeah. Sometimes we put too much stream into, you get the tools for free, then it means you solve all the problem in the world. Sort of like gold mine in the backyard. It's like you have all the gold you want, all the wealth you want, but you cannot buy love.
When Steve Jobs was dying of cancer, he wrote about how he's a billionaire and all of his billions couldn't save him, save his life from cancer.
Yep.
He wrote a little essay about, what he spent his whole life doing wasn't really satisfying. At the end of the day, he was dying of cancer.
Yep.
Couldn't buy his way out of that one. You can't pay somebody to suffer through your disease for you.
Yeah. And this is why I always remind everybody that anytime that a problem can be solved with money, it's the cheapest problem money can buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Fix your car, fix your computer, fix your air conditioner.
Yeah. Get a haircut.
Get a haircut, right. $24 to get a haircut. So, I do a lot of repair jobs around the house, but it's very time consuming. And I do it because I get a little bit of satisfaction, partly out of fixing it and partly out of saving $300 to do a job that I can do in a day, at zero cost. When my water heater, when the electric component of the low water heater burned out, I ordered a new one from Amazon and installed it myself. But it was an all-day job. And getting the old one out was the hard part.
Right.
Because it was really in tight. Plus, you have to drain your water heater. And I had the wrong size threads, and I had to set it back and get a new one. It turned out, there's a reason why people spend a lot of money for repair jobs, because they're arcane. Or they don't even have the right tool.
So I typed in the word GitHub for dummies. Guess what I found? Lots of video, there's a website for dummies, website, GitHub a dummy cheat sheet. You can download it. Okay, that problem is solved now.
I grew up on peanut butter and toast. My mother never got up to make us breakfast when we were children. So I had peanut butter and toast because I could make it myself. A school day and not take a lot of time. That was it. Or, cereal, peanut butter and toast, sort of, make your own breakfast. And on weekends, I could cook an egg.
Nice.
Or
hard-boiled egg or fried egg?
This morning I did a fried egg.
Oh, nice. You can buy this egg that do a hard-boiled egg that is by itself. You just put it in and poke a hole on top, and it will make a hard-boiled egg perfectly the way you want it, soft or hard or whatever you want.
Oh, I know. A little cup. Yeah, the ones.
Yeah, nice. I love those things. I use it every day now.
But so I cook my own meals, but they're nothing fancy. It's a meal. There are two kinds of meals. There's something called a meal as a social occasion. And there's a meal that's called a feeding opportunity. Most of my meals are feeding opportunities, not social occasions.
But you can also buy those TV dinner that is already prepared. All it is microwavable.
Yeah. Back in the 50s, we bought them. I stopped buying them. It's like buying hot dogs. I stopped buying hot dogs, when I was in college. They're too banal.
I still like hot dogs.
The reason I bring up GitHub is that I think it's a tool that we can use to create whatever interface that we need to do so that make things easier, so that we achieve what we talk about. Medium is the message.
I used to use the Make program on and there were a couple things where the Make program actually did the job. GitHub is a little bit harder to use than the Make program. Make file.
By the way, that pretty much is all Arch is. If you're using the Arch Linux distribution, you pick and choose what you want, and it creates a version for you that's perfectly matched to your system, or you download a pre-built binary. but you have the option.
Yeah. The thing that I find annoying about Linux is that the names of the generic applications, I don't recognize the names. So you install some version of Linux, Mint Linux or whatever you want, and you go, what's this application do? I don't recognize the name. Even the name of the browser. What was it, Epiphany or something? I can't remember. I go, what the hell's the web browser? You know, what's it called?
Oh, Firefox.
I ended up downloading Firefox because the native one was.
It comes with pretty much every Linux.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about Firefox, you can still get 32-bit versions in Linux that work on older hardware. I still have a fair number of 32-bit machines laying around here. And I even put 32-bit Linux on 64-bit machines, because even though it's a 64-bit machine, it's only got 4 gigs of RAM in it. So what's the point?
You really want to run 32-bit, is it that you really want to run 32-bit software? Is that why you keep these machines around?
No, because I don't want to throw them away. For example, I have 2 Dell laptops and 1 Acer laptop with an IEEE 1394 input port on it. And the only other machines that have 1394 on it are either desktop machines where I put in a card, or older Macintoshes that came with it native, FireWire native. And I have devices that still run FireWire. I don't want to throw them away.
Have you taken a look at how much time you're spending on these old machines? You're just trying to get them to
Well,
work?
I got nothing but time. I'm retired.
Okay, all right.
I can't spend 24/7 talking on Zoom to people all day long. I don't have that much talking and listening capacity, but I can spend time tinkering on hardware because I got to spend the time doing something.
Okay, Barry, I'll send you all my old hardware.
Yeah, do that. I'm in the market for a 2017 Dell laptop that has an IEEE 1394 iLink input.
That's not that old.
I know, that's the whole point. Dell continues to provide iLink inputs all the way to 2016, which was marketed in 2017, but the machines were 2016 engineered. And they're nice 64-bit machines, and they got iLinks on them, and they run Windows 10 just fine.
Yeah, most of my old hardware, the delivery cost would be more than the actual value of the machine.
Well, that's the whole point, is that you end up having to spend too much money to ship them. What do you got there?
I found here a Toshiba laptop.
What does it have iLink on it?
I have iLink on it.
What year? Do you know what year it is?
Can you see
Yeah,
that?
there it is right there, that little rectangle with the nose and the top.
Let me show you the screen. This is one that I didn't want to give away because of the screen was designed.
And if you put Windows 10 on it, then Zoom on Windows 10 can natively talk to a TV. What do you got in that?
Yeah. Toshiba Centennial Duo. We do Tetra.
Is it a 32-bit machine?
32-bit machine, yeah.
Okay, but see, you can still put 32-bit Windows 7 or 10, and Zoom, even in a 32-bit Windows 7, will still run modern versions of Zoom.
It's got that dual mode. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if you put Linux on it, the versions of Linux the versions of Zoom that run on Linux don't drive the iLink DV format.
Right.
But the version on Windows has the iLink DV driver native in Windows. What is that? Antenna?
Is that a stylus? That's a stylus.
What's a stylus? Okay.
Allows you to
one
write.
of the early days, one of the very first tablets, TC.
Yeah.
I remember the Tecra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And removable hard drive.
Yeah, well, most of the laptops, it's pretty easy to take out the hard drive.
No, basically this one is a one push of a button.
You don't even have to take a lot of them have a screw.
Yeah, no screw.
You have to undo a screw and take them out. or 2 screws.
That's why this is one of my favorite laptop. I don't want to give it away yet.
Some of those have 3 different hard drive bays.
Yeah,
pop
yeah.
in
You could
CD-ROM.
take out the
Remember what a
CD-ROM bay and
CD-ROM
put in a
was?
battery.
Yes.
Put a battery or a CD-ROM in one of the bays.
Yeah, there's a CD-ROM right there, DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And PMCIA cards, you can get PMCIA cards with FireWire, but they're kind of expensive and hard to get anymore.
And also have a docking port.
That's what I need. I need one of the Dell docking ports because the onboard graphics is crapping out, and Dell's docking ports have their own graphics adapter, which can take over.
See, there's a
VGA.
Yeah, VGA.
I love the VGA. Yeah.
Well, I mean, those old camcorders, which had those beautiful Zeiss optics with 300:1 zoom. Now they're only 1152 aspect ratio, but that's good enough for this. I don't need.
See how small the power supply is?
Yeah.
Tiny power supply.
Lots of those things.
Not 5 pounds. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Sam, any technology which is gathering dust and you want to see it go back into useful service.
Yeah. I got several monitors here to pack it out and ship it to you. Yeah, I know I owe you a couple more of those.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 webcams you sent me, the non-Logitech models, I was using them at the community center with the hybrid meetings. And finally, they broke down and bought a Logitech C930 because they have electronic zoom on them, and the ones that you said, there's no ability to zoom, pan, and tilt from the GUI.
Actually, if you're interested, writing the driver of all those things are not that difficult. A lot of them are text file drivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't invest time in learning how to do that. When I look at it, the driver syntax is like, that's not much.
Yeah. But, adapting old technology, 15, 20-year-old technology to use with Zoom hybrid meetings, that's, otherwise you're going to spend $1,000 to make a portable TV studio, in the community center. And that's a lot of money for serving half a dozen people on a hybrid meeting. I'd rather do it for next to nothing. I'll spend the time anyway. That little Sony Handycam is nice. I mean, the tripod handle actually has a remote zoom right on the handle. So you can pan and tilt mechanically, and you can zoom with your thumb. And a 300:1 zoom. Very nice Zeiss optics. But you got to have iLink.
I find another one.
That's another, what is it? Is that a camera or is that a computer?
It's a handheld.
Oh, it's a computer.
Yeah.
It's one of these, what do they used to call them? PDAs. It's an early PDA.
Yeah.
Sam, something I may not have told you is I was working on PDAs for several years. I was working on Windows CE version 1.
Yeah.
Remember that? It had hardly any capability whatsoever.
Yeah, I bought the phone for the Windows CE, the very first one that came out. Yeah. I have a lot of. Anytime there's a first one, like when it came out, I'm buying it. Like I have Google glasses. Can you imagine Google glasses?
Yep.
Yeah, I have the first one.
Okay, so you have the Oculus Quest then as well, right?
Yeah.
Too. What do you use it for? Is there a use for it?
It's not very useful.
Yeah, no media anymore.
And from my perspective, it's again, when there's a new, I call it a breakthrough. So because 3 things happening. A company is going to invest so much money in that they do R&D and they find the market is there already. So it's time to bring them out. So I want to know everything there is to know about it. So the Google glasses, I use it less than 5 hours, for example, because I get bored with it 1 hour. I'll come back to it about a month later. I'll come back to it again. And the total I have it for the last 10 years or whatever. I use it no more than 5 hours. So it's like look like brand new. But it's a show-off piece. And when people come to my office, I show it to them like, okay, Google Glass.
Yeah,
And by the way, the Google Glass, the guy that designed Google Glass, I know the guy. So
I have found, I'm going to experiment with this on my next flight. I found a bunch of people. I even asked this question, what do you use the Oculus Quest 2 for? It turns out a number of people are going onto airlines. They're flying on the airline, and rather than just using headphones and listening to music, they're using these VR glasses just so they can just ignore the rest of the flight and just like play around and use that
immersion,
watching movies or listening to music, or I don't know what the heck it is. So that's the only use case. I thought, I haven't tried that yet. I might try that on my next flight.
Yeah.
So speaking about the challenge, I take it as a challenge. I'm really going to spend my some free time creating this KPI RFC, but that compelled me to actually just inform you guys. I'm actually switching around my travel schedule. So you might have been aware I'm Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays in Sunnyvale every week, but I think things are going reasonably well now. I'm going to try and cut down some costs. So I'm going to switch to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every other week. So this way I'll be traveling every other week and hoping that things can still work smoothly. But I have a question that maybe you guys can help me with. I go down there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and when I'm there, our company has a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in-office policy. That's why those days make sense. But if I'm going to now come just once a week for the entire week, there's some pros and cons of asking people to be in the office all the days that I'm there. And I actually don't need it, but my CEO advised me that I should ask everybody to be in the office the days that I'm there. I was curious if you'd seen other companies try to adopt that kind of a policy, or how employees are reacting to this in-office business. Because, you heard Andy Jassy's announcement about Amazon. Did you hear what he said?
No.
He said people that want to work from home, it's probably not going to work out for you. He actually said that in public. So I'm curious.
People are funny because from my perspective, you think that we're still in the making toys in China in the production line, for God's sake. It's like you need to focus on what needs to be accomplished, not about where you need to work and how you need to work, for God's sake. Jesus Christ, what year are we now, right? We're not in the factory, for God's sake. Okay, give it a break. So, Jesus. I mean, think of it this way. If you can hold people for their productivity based on their result, I mean, there's a 60-minute video I really enjoy watching, which is about 20 years, maybe 25 years ago. The company called Statistica in Colorado. They don't care what time you come to work. They don't care if you come to work at all. You know what? Because they have a statistical tool to keep track of what you need to get done and are you getting that done. That's it.
Get your work done.
I have a friend, a dear friend of mine, just got a new job that's like 6 years ago. She's pretty high up there in Google, and she's working for another major corporation in San Francisco. I wouldn't want to name names. She came to me, Sam, I want to have 2 babies, and I'm going to this high executive position. What do I do? I say, well, talk to your boss. The next 3 years, what's the 3 most important things I need to get done? And focus on that, and cut the crap out, go to office, not go to office, and take maternity. So what? Who cares? People don't focus on result. People focus on, are you like a robot or something, or like assembling gadgets in the factory floor or what?
That's nice, Sam. That's the closest thing to a rant I've heard from you in a long time.
I mean, it drives me crazy. It's like, let me put it this way. I run my business for the last 40 years without traveling to see my customer. I don't need to.
You're a shipping company.
We are a logistic company. You need something, I ship it to you. I need something from you, you ship it to me. That's all right. That's what the shipping companies do. You don't take away their job.
And if you're distributing software, shipping software is basically free.
Yeah, you just click a button, just say send to the right email address. For God's sake, he's like, you need to come to work at 8 o'clock sharp, and you 1 second late, we're going to penalize you like Intel is doing. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? This is what Intel do to their employees. Like, they penalize people when they don't come to work. And I was like, it's like, okay, guys, I'm not working for you, my friend. Thank you very much. You treat me like this. So the structured way of thinking is like, you're not focusing on results, you're focusing about what I do. It's like, this is beyond micromanagement.
But you know, big companies are doing this, right?
Think of this way: the ultimate customer, the king of the company is the customer. Are you satisfied with the customer? How do I come to work at 8:01 a.m. going to affect the satisfaction of my customer?
It isn't.
It's irrelevant.
When I worked at Bell Labs, I did almost all of my own work out of hours.
Yeah.
In hours, I got almost nothing done. I would stay after hours when everybody went home. I would stay until 9 o'clock, or I would do work at home or on the weekends. And that's how all my work was done out of hours.
Yeah, the last job I had was with AMD was dealing with dealing with the mainframe group. And it takes them 6 months to come back and tell me it cannot, so they'll look into it, and 6 months later come back and tell me they cannot be done. I said, I got so fed up that I bought my own software. I grabbed all the data from the, from the mainframe into my own Paradox software, database software, 3.5 from Boland. I ran all my report there, and the guy, my boss, my VP was saying like, how do you get this thing done? Because we don't know how to do this. It would take me a year to figure this out, how to do this. Like, who cares? Like, you want result? I'll give you a result. I'm accountable for my result. I'm not accountable for my behavior. I'm not going to break any unethical things or whatever. So as long as I'm doing it between ethicals and delivered result, leave me alone. By the way, I worked for 7 years for AMD, right? You know how AMD have factories in Singapore, Penang, and Thailand. You know how many times I traveled there as a QA engineer for 7 years for AMD?
Once.
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 You know what? Because I was ready to quit, and my boss said, you better go before you quit. So focus on results. Just tell your boss, what's most important here? Human beings are so terrible in focusing. We are not good at focusing on 3 things at the same time. We can only focus on one thing.
Yeah, that's why I work at home, because I don't have any interruptions, distractions.
Yeah,
I could focus. And in the office, I keep getting interrupted. Too much social activity going on in the office.
Yeah, the context switching time is too high for most humans, including me.
Think of this way. So if you're looking to create an ideal working condition so that you can focus, so that you can get the things done, would you consider driving to office, coming back from the office, make sure you smile and chit-chat with your office mate is the best condition for you?
There's certain things I do find are better in person. I like whiteboarding, brainstorming sessions in person.
Okay.
I like being able to go out to lunch, and just
That's
carry
right.
different things. Right?
Yeah.
But
Social
to focus on
occasions.
individual contributor tasks, no, you don't need to do that in the office.
Yep.
Eating at your desk is a feeding opportunity. Having lunch with a workmate is a social occasion.
Yeah, and you can span the personal, social, professional. You can do all of that in a meal, and it turns out to be useful.
The meals at Bell Labs were fabulous. They had a great a meal service cafeteria there with professional chefs, and the people who were providing the meals were contractors. They had to pay for the food that they were buying and the personnel, but they didn't have to pay rent. They got the whole kitchen and dining room was part of Bell Laboratories, so they didn't have any real estate overhead. Just their own personnel and buying the food. And so
And
the meals were cheap
and
there.
the cooking utensil.
I'm not sure if that was provided
In the
by Bell
plates,
Labs
the
or not.
silverware.
I'm pretty sure that when they changed food service providers, the utensils I think all stayed the same. The ovens were the same, you know,
Oh, okay.
the plates were the
Okay.
same, silverware was the same. It was probably already there. And
So
the other nice thing is that because of the location where Bell Labs was, if you went out to eat, it was going to be a 20-minute drive to the nearest, you know, town where there was a restaurant. You couldn't just go down the street. You couldn't walk down the street. There was no walk down the street. It was out in the country. Go ahead, Sam.
So I'm just needing to add something to my previous comment. In addition to brainstorming, the use case that I think really benefits from face-to-face is culture change.
what?
Culture change. I find that's more effective in person.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking to people who were not in your group, but, you know, I mean, there were people at Bell Labs who were fabulous people that I had really wasn't involved with their work and they weren't involved with mine. But, you know, we were compadres in technology.
For me, culture change is, if I may say this, culture change for me is a different perspective, a different value system, a different structure of thinking that if you can adopt it, you sort of, I call it pendulum swinging. It sort of allow you to swing further away and different angles. And so you can see your blind spot that you will not be able to see before.
Yep.
Cross-pollination of ideas.
Yeah. Before I forget, you can talk the what I call the tree circle with your boss.
The Venn diagram?
Yeah, Venn diagram, right? So it's like, okay, the circle number one, you want to get this done, right? And I have my optimum ideal position on the way I do it and what's good for the company. Yeah. And the needle intersection circle is what we want. So what would that be? Is coming to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the part of it deal here? Once you have the tree circle, then you can easily explain that. Logical thinking.
Even back in the 70s and 80s, I was taking terminals home and dialing in to the mainframe at Bell Laboratories, and PL1 or whatever I was doing was, you know, I would do a lot of that stuff at home.
Not to mention the actual time spent in travel, which is an overhead.
Right. Yeah, the daily commute was a fair amount of time. Plus you know, your automobile and your gasoline and your insurance, that was all a big overhead. Almost the only thing I ever used my car for was to get to work. I mean, I'd buy groceries, whatever it was, every week or two, and that was about it. It was driving to the office every day.
Underlying all of this is this theme of trust.
Ugh.
Well, it's complicated. Okay, so the trust is one of them, of course, and some people require that kind of structure, working environment to, in order for them to shift their mind to the working mindset, and some people don't. Okay, and some are I call it hybrid people. Someday they feel like it, and someday they don't feel like it, and all that stuff. So you need a structure to, like a guardrail, to help them to be, so that they get into the what I call working mindset. So from that perspective, it's like you still have to optimize it, and you can. So if you think of this way, I give you a longer leash, you behave yourself, the leash get longer. If you don't behave, the leash gets shorter. The best way I can describe it, I don't mean to demonize people with like a dog, but that's a simple way to do it. The control will be in place when the criteria is not met.
The less I was supervisor, the more productive I was.
That's right.
Would your boss have said that?
In fact, one of my bosses, I had one boss who was a PhD physicist. Fabulous guy, really loved him. And he said to me in one of my annual reviews, he says, Barry, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing, but when you're around, everything's working fine. When you're gone, things are breaking like crazy. And I wasn't reporting what I was doing, but I was keeping things running, among other things. And then, he noticed that. He noticed that things weren't breaking when I was around. Well, they were, but I was fixing them.
The question was, though, did you have an adequate backup? In other words, when you were around, things were working. When you were not around, there wasn't the backup.
Exactly. This is the problem I have with the hybrid meetings at Toastmasters. I have to be there because nobody else can do what I'm doing.
You know what they call You know what they call this?
Single source, sole source.
Single source is one of them. You're right.
Failure.
No, second one is job security.
But I don't want job. First of all, I'm not being paid to be a volunteer at the. And I keep pointing out. I said, look, every week, 50 weeks a year, if I can't make it 1 week, you're not going to have a hybrid meeting that week.
Yeah.
So you need at least 3 people or 2 other people who can do what I'm doing. And right now you don't. And I keep telling them this is not a good thing to have a sole source. The only one person who can set up a hybrid meeting for you. And the last 2 weeks, I spent an hour setting up for a 1-hour meeting. And last week, 10 in person and 2 remote. Spent an hour setting up a hybrid meeting, 2 were remote. The week before that, 6 in person, 6 remote. And I said, look, I'm spending an hour setting up and half an hour tearing down. And I'm doing it single-handedly because nobody else is stepping up to provide the medium. And I'm saying, you guys are learning how to be communicators. You really ought to learn the medium too.
Yeah.
Especially in the 21st century. It's not just face-to-face and eyeball-to-eyeball spoken, through the air over a distance of 10 feet. There was one guy who was giving a talk on Thursday, and he talked so softly that the people 30 feet away on the other side of the room couldn't hear him. The people with normal vision, normal hearing.
So you have a steep learning curve system in place that you need to train people. You can start charging class to do this.
I said you ought to get people in the club who are not just interested in eyeball to eyeball, face to face, telling a little story for 5 minutes. You also ought to have people who really want to learn to master the media.
Right.
Because then you can learn something, really valuable.
So it's called a Toastmasters supporting team.
We have a tech team, except the tech team is mainly me most of the time.
Yeah.
Once in a while, there's one other person, who's does some of the work, like being a camera operator, where all you're doing is aiming the camera, and maybe if there's a zoom button, zooming it. If I set it all up, yeah, you can be a camera operator and point to whoever's talking, and you don't need to know very much to do that. But the rest of it, you got to kind of know what you're doing.
Thank you. I want to switch different perspective, if I may use your example here. I want to explain to Sam. So imagine that you have this collaboration society that was formed, 30, 50 years, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. And now you have, the technology get evolved and the collaboration get evolved and all that stuff. So because of the single point of failure that the technology was set up, the tech support people was not successful, your whole collaboration just fall apart.
Exactly.
I'm just telling you from that perspective. So the question becomes like, how could you simplify it? How can you focus on one thing? Remember, the sole purpose of Toastmasters is only for mass communication practice. That's all it does. One focus, nothing else.
Not even mass communication. A dozen people maybe face-to-face in a room, and you're going to talk to them orally and look at them, and they're going to look at you for 5 minutes while you're talking.
Right. So just for focus on communication skill, if I may string it down a little bit more so that you can get more expansion. So communication skill, enhancement, class, interaction, whatever you call that thing, it's really a simple thing. And if you want to carry on for multiple years, so as simple as that, as smart as it is in Massachusetts, all that stuff. So even with the, what I call high level of thinker, very smart people, and they're still having that issue. So imagine you try to propagate this thing here around the world. That's just how I take a deep breath.
more than half of the members of the Toastmasters Club, and that all have joined in the last 3 or 4 years, English is their second language. They're all foreign born and Hindu or I don't know, whatever, and they're all there because they want to learn to speak English.
Yep.
And English is a challenge for them because it's not their native language. But I think in the 10 people who were in the room, I'm going to say 7 of them, English was not their first language.
Wow.
And for the rest of us, pronouncing their names is hard. Dinesh Chamanamanda. I mean, learning to say the names of these foreign-born people is tricky.
Have they adapt as English name?
Yeah, well, no, they all have their real name, and the real name is, they're from India. They're from, I don't know where they're from. One's from Korea, several from India. I don't even know what ethnic group they are. Rama. I don't even know Rama's last name. But they're names that you didn't ever have classmates with these
I give up on that one. Yeah.
Dinesh, Yogesh.
So they get to learn English, you get to learn to pronounce their name. How's that?
It's tricky. And being able to look at them and say, oh yeah, without having to read a little name card, can I remember that person's name?
They don't have a name tag?
No, well, they have little cards that they put out. But oftentimes they're written in such a way that I can't quite read the name card.
You got to print it out for them, Bill. Before
you have the agenda, so their name is on the agenda.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, they're there for lots of reasons: technology, talking, and practicing in a language which is not their native language.
And also community building.
Yeah, and learning to care about people. So eventually they will tell stories which are personal stories.
Yeah,
a little bit of backstory of their life, and you begin to learn who these people are.
Yeah,
they're not strangers.
Yeah,
and you begin to care about them because you understand what their struggles are.
Yeah,
somebody tells you what their struggles are, you can begin to have some empathy. But if they're just telling an anecdote for 5 minutes,
it's almost like a church.
It's a little bit like a church.
Yeah,
a little bit like a church.
Yeah,
and it's tricky because unlike the other club where somebody gives a presentation for 90 minutes, there's a few questions. These are very interactive. You have like half a dozen roles. Everybody who's there is playing a role. There's the timer, and there's the grammarian, and there's the Toastmaster, and there's the presenters, and there's the evaluators. And everybody is assigned a role. So they have a little time segment where they have to do their function.
Right.
And then I got to be able to cover them with, audio and video so the people who are remote can participate and see who's in the room. And table topics, you ask a question, somebody gives you a 2-minute answer for a little session of table topics. And these make hybrid meetings tricky.
But at the same time, you also look forward to join them.
I don't actually participate in the curriculum.
I understand, but you join them.
You never miss a meeting.
Contribution.
I can't miss a meeting. If I miss a meeting, there's no hybrid. And I'm spending 3 hours a week because I have to drive there, set everything up, run the hybrid meeting, tear it all down, drive home, and then during the week I have to do the engineering on the stuff. Recharge the batteries of the cameras that need batteries, and whatever else I'm doing, make sure all my hardware is still working. And system updates in Windows drives me up the wall. I get an update in the middle of a meeting.
Right. You can pause it. Remember, you can pause it. Hello.
Yeah, no. Hiya, Aya. What's Aya looking at? She's not looking at the camera.
Oh no, she's looking at the TV.
Oh, you're looking at the TV. Looking at herself. I see.
No, she's looking at the ladybug on the television.
Oh, but why does she step in front of the camera to look?
She's not in front of the. She's next to me. She's just. The camera's picking her up in and out.
I see.
But
Aya.
Yeah, let me turn
are
on
you wearing
speaker
earbuds so she doesn't hear us?
Yeah, she doesn't hear
okay.
me.
Yeah.
Now she hears me.
Your earbuds are so invisible. Hiya, Aya.
Hey, how you doing? That's what she said. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
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 What are you doing here?
Say it louder so they can hear you.
What are you doing here?
She said, "What are you doing here?"
We're talking to you.
Oh, hi.
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 My brother calls me on the phone and says, "What are you doing?" I say, "I'm answering the phone."
Yeah, she understands. She goes, "Oh, hi."
Hi.
What do you think? What do you think these guys are doing here? Hey! What do you think these guys are doing? All right. Yeah, she's getting to be conversational. Hey! What are you doing?
Hey, hey.
Okay. The medium is the message. That's what I'm taking away from this call today.
Medium is the message.
He's the medium, no doubt.
Yep. That's what I'm using the medium as the message to get food in her. I was trying to get oatmeal in her, so I used the medium of chocolate inside the oatmeal and mix it up. Chocolate oatmeal, yummy.
Medium is the food.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
I also think there's something too with playing, like you were talking about the novelty of some new technology.
Right.
There's something to like, hey, I got a new toy. You want to play with me? It's called GitHub. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Let's learn it. Yeah.
Somebody brought, talking about toys, one of the toys that somebody brought into the Fix-It shop last week was a Nerf gun. But this Nerf gun was, this long, and it had a video recording camera built into it.
Wow.
It had 8 batteries, 4 to run the camera, and 4 to run the flywheels, which propel the Nerf bullets.
My finger? No, that can one on what?
Ask
My
me again.
fingers. What's your finger about?
Oh no, the purple guy.
Oh no.
She's asking the purple guy if you want some ice cream.
Purple guy.
Oh, Sam is the
I think
purple
that's
guy?
you, Sam. The lighting makes you look kind of purple.
Oh, me, purple guy. Oh,
Look at those eyeballs.
Ask him if he wants.
Look at that Shayna Punham.
Ask him if he wants ice cream.
yes, I want ice cream. I want ice
You
cream.
want some ice cream? Can you get it for him?
What flavor?
What flavor is that?
It's chocolate.
Say it loud.
It's chocolate.
Chocolate. Chocolate ice cream.
Did he eat
Rocky
it?
Road. Rocky Road. I want some Rocky Road.
Ida has a Mona Lisa smile.
You.
All right.
So how long before Aya will be actually joining us in our conversations? I mean, real
I think
conversations.
this is the first time she's offering ice cream. That's
Right.
I don't know. I think as far as tech,
FTP, Food Transfer Protocol.
I would say another 2 more years.
Yep.
I think in 2 years she'll be going, hey, have you guys seen this new robot that I have? It's you want to show him your robot? Where's your robot? She's kind of growing up in that robot world where we've named the car as a robot, and the iRobot, technically it's called, is the vacuum.
Mm.
So, and then we have the drone that flies in the air. That's another robot.
That's nice.
Yeah. High functioning, high tech.
You know how to turn it on? Can you talk to Google and turn it on? Go tell Google to turn it on. Mm-hmm. Clean up the toys. Yeah, she's getting good. I'm proud of her. She's only two in a couple of months, so I think she's doing good. Are your grandkids or family all like into robots and stuff? Any of the young
Oh
kids in your
yeah,
families?
I got two grandsons, a 9 year
Are they?
old and a 4 year old. So they are in the robots, no question about it. Yeah, they love robots. I mean, from my perspective, it's they're growing up to a stage where they be curious about things and love to play with things. Anything they can interact will be good. Those are the So anytime like they come here, buy robots or buy drone, whatever they need, so that keep them interested.
Yeah, that I just think they kind of intuitively feel that that's what's coming up. That's going to be the world they're living in.
Yeah.
Well, go back inside if you're cold.
You're outside.
Yep. I apologize. I can't. That's why I've been coming in and out because I can't be on the call for too long. Because
I understand. Yeah. You got
yeah,
distraction.
it's just this time in the morning. If the call was in the afternoon, it would be totally. I could do it, but it's
Take a
just
nap.
this time in the morning when she wakes up.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I was just sharing. Here, check
Medium.
this out. So this is the moon from my backyard last night.
Oh,
Oh, that's your last night's photo.
Yeah, that was
That's,
just last night.
yeah.
wow.
That's I think the closest I've ever seen the moon to the Earth since I've been alive.
Could you see Saturn?
You can. I did about a week ago. It was really bright in the night sky for 3 days.
Yeah,
But
it's real.
once the moon was out, Saturn's gone.
Yeah, I was able to spot Saturn because the night of the blue moon, it was just northwest of Saturn, and I could see it. I couldn't see other than a spot of light, but it was Saturn. I tried looking through a binoculars, but you need a really good telescope to see Saturn for real, which I don't have.
Yeah, I was really excited when I found out about that comet that they just discovered in about 2 weeks ago. Nakishimura, it's some Japanese name, a gentleman. It's going to be visible in the night sky if you have like binoculars or a small telescope on the 8th of September will be the last day from now to the 8th. But they missed it because it was coming right from the sun. So they didn't even see it. None of the big guys.
Yeah, you can only see it at dusk or dawn when it's near the sun for like half an hour.
Yeah, it's just scary. Like that movie, Don't Look Up. Hey, don't do that. It's kind of like, you know, that's very real. They just discovered it 2-3 weeks ago, and it's already coming towards the sun in another week. So it would literally be about 4 weeks if something came out. It's kind of scary to me.
And we're just barely experimenting with pushing comets out of their orbits.
Yeah. I wrote a piece on that very idea. It's up on my blog. I wrote it, I think, in the 2005 or something. I went to a workshop, an essay writing workshop, and I ended up spending a week writing that piece. And at the end of the week, I read it aloud to the other people in the class, and they were just dumbfounded. They were gobsmacked.
So shouldn't we have like a whole platoon of these comet pushing satellites deployed at like Mars or Jupiter just in case something happens?
I think the engineering to figure out how to get to them at the right time
And match the orbits. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have to do a fair amount of earthbound engineering. I think if you've got them already deployed in space, they may not have the range of navigation to do the job. But they did hit that one little asteroid. It was a year or so ago. That was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So
So
there should
what
be
is
a pretty compelling reason for people to do that, right?
if we
Well,
want
to keep it from hitting the Earth, but the thing is that I mean, yeah, meteors hit the Earth, but they're pretty small. Even the big ones are pretty small, except for the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. That was 65 million years ago. So you're talking about how often we expected those to hit, tens of millions of years in between events. And even then, it'll probably hit the ocean. And that volcano, what was it, off of Fiji? Yeah, that's probably just about as much energy as you might get. Tunguska event, and that one that hit not Chernobyl. What was the one that hit Russia? It blew up in the sky. I mean, those are a few a century, but they explode in the atmosphere mostly.
Tunguska event. Yeah, that's the same one you're thinking of. I think 1905 or 18. It was.
Yeah, and that was in Siberia. But there was that one that hit populated areas of Russia a couple of years ago. It exploded in the sky, and I forget the name of that one. Blew out a lot of windows and stuff. Made a hell of a sonic boom. Are we running out of time? I see Sam's signaling something here.
I was mocked yesterday for not knowing what 2,000 mules was. What is 2,000 mules?
I don't know what that is either. I was going to ask you.
2,000 what?
Mules, M-U-L-E-S. Donkeys.
1,000 mules?
Yeah.
Do you know what that is, Sam Chan?
I just found out a one-liner somebody told me yesterday. I could look it up, but I was.
Is it a literary reference from popular culture?
No, it's a reference to a movie made by Dinesh D'Souza to basically prove that the election was stolen.
Oh, it's a recent movie.
Yeah.
Well, mules I know is a term that they use in drug smuggling. But how does that connect to stolen?
A new film by Dinesh D'Souza. Stopping widespread coordinated voter fraud in 2020 elections sufficient to change the overall outcome. It's a movie.
He's a very
movie.
Isn't he a right-wing conspiracy theorist kind of guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not a source of reliable information.
Evidently, this is a big MAGA thing.
Well, MAGA's full of baloney. Propaganda baloney. Except that the propaganda, I mean, back when they did real propaganda, it was quite easily taken in. This stuff is so freaking transparent. It's hard to believe that many people can be taken in by such nonsense. That's what scares me about democracy. The same thing that Socrates worried about is that you can fool so many people so easily with total baloney. That's right. Persuade them to do idiotic things, sending people off to war. I mean, every generation they send people off to war based on propaganda, total baloney.
You guys remember the first scene of Interstellar, the movie, if you saw it?
I don't remember. I don't think I saw it.
I remember the scene. I saw the movie, yeah.
The guy's a farmer. Evidently, he's an ex-engineer, but now food is so scarce, he turned into a farmer. And his daughter got in trouble at the school because her daughter was trying to share this picture of astronomy and planets and moon and stuff like that, and our landing on the moon in the 60s. And he got called in because the school principal and the teacher said, your daughter is trying to tell people that we actually landed on the moon. We all know this was a conspiracy. We all know this is fake news, but she's now causing trouble getting other kids to believe that we actually landed on the moon. That was the very first scene of Interstellar. One of the first scenes. And it seems so stupid and so silly, but we're living it.
I made two predictions about this trial in Georgia with the 19 defendants. My first prediction is the easy one, that the 19 defendants will be tried and will be judged and found wanting. They'll be judged and found
guilty
wanting.
Or not guilty?
It will be, no, I didn't or I didn't put it that way. I said they will be judged and found wanting.
What does that mean?
Coming up short of what you'd expect of a public official, without saying whether it's legal or illegal, coming up short of expectations for a conscientious public official. Not necessarily
not a proper legal outcome, though.
That's why I wrote it the way I wrote it. It's a prediction that they will be judged and found wanting.
What's the legal?
Not by the jury, by people observing the trial. Now, my second prediction is that the rule of law itself will also be judged and found wanting.
We already know that.
Yes. And people like us know the latter, but the average person doesn't think there's anything wrong with the rule of law as a concept. They don't think the rule of law will ever be found wanting as a mechanism.
I need more help to understand this. I'm confused.
Me too.
Well, because the axiomatic foundation for the rule of law is that rule-based systems will give you well-regulated, orderly systems. System behavior will be orderly and well-regulated. And mathematics has overthrown that. It's not an axiom.
I still need discussion on that one, for the record.
Well, and this
not
comes
now,
up.
not now.
Okay, all right.
Let's make that tomorrow. Well, no, actually, no, sorry. Tomorrow I'm not available at this session. I'm going to be on a flight. So you guys can use a different link if you like and share the recording. In fact,
actually, we can use your link. That's
right. That's right. You now have the password. You can actually do it. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we won't be able to record it on your cloud.
You can record it on your.
Record it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can record it locally if you don't authorize it.
I think you can.
Did you leave it that it's a default authorized?
Yes. I'll try. See, now I get free internet on airplanes because I switched over to T-Mobile. So yeah. I'll try and join at least to even allow co-host and chat. I don't think I'll be able to do video on the airplane.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you've got it set that we can record locally.
Yes,
and you don't have to start the session. We can all join.
That's right. I noticed that now.
But one of us will have to record it locally if you want it to be recorded.
So and not tomorrow, but next time, I would like to talk about this whole rule-based stability thing.
Right. It's not a new idea. The only thing that's new about it is the mathematical aspect of it.
But whether or not we're interpreting it correctly is another question.
Yeah. If I'm simplify this thing from my simplified brain, it will be, if anything, you have a rule, the rules are so structured that it doesn't change over time, right? But people are human, they're flexible, so they can go around the rule. So what the hell is the rule supposed to do? Because they always find a way to get around the rule. So it's like that simple math, from my perspective, is a structure against inflexible human being mind. You don't stand a chance.
You don't have to get around the rule. You can obey the rules just fine, as if you're playing a regulation game of chess. And yeah. Nobody's cheating. You know, when that young kid beat Magnus Carlsen, and Carlsen said, you cheated, and he didn't cheat, but he played a better game. And they both played by the rules. But they argued for a year whether the guy cheated.
So what was the outcome of the argument?
The outcome of the argument is that he said, first of all, the kid sued Magnus Carlsen for asserting that the kid cheated, the 19-year-old guy who beat him. And the kid sued him for defamation. And they settled it out of court. And Magnus Carlsen says, I can see that I can't prove that he cheated. Basically, he said, I can't prove he cheated.
So what perspective that he says that cheated? I don't understand that. So
because he thought that he was, when this kid was playing online games of chess, he wasn't playing with just his own brain. He was using media to get guidance. And when you play
when you play online, you have that risk. That's a given.
Right, and the guy admitted that when he was playing online in these online tournaments, he wasn't just playing, offline analog brain. He was
Right. It's like an open book exam, for God's sake.
But when he played against Magnus Carlsen, he didn't have anything in his ear. He was just playing with his own brain, and he beat him. And Magnus Carlsen assumed that he was still using his his wireless connection to get more brain power than he had natively.
Yeah.
And it turned out, no, he played a straight game, and he beat him because he used a maneuver that Magnus Carlsen had never seen before and wasn't prepared to defend against.
Yeah.
But he played a legal game. And,
yeah.
and here's the thing. Here's the question. How many legal games of chess are there?
Yeah.
An astronomical number.
Yeah.
I mean, even tic-tac-toe, I think it's a few hundred legal games of tic-tac-toe.
Fewer than the games of Go.
I think Go has even a higher estimate. It's like Graham's number, yes. Some huge number. So the number of legal games of chess, checkers, Go, reverse Othello, it's pure strategy, turn-taking, astronomical number of legal games. And if you look at the state of the board in the middle of a game, you have no idea how it's going to end. You can say, well, I think it's 70% this guy and 30% that guy, but you cannot predict the outcome of the game. It's mathematically chaotic. And one move this way versus that way can switch the game from this guy winning to that guy winning. And that's called an error. An error is using a suboptimal move, perfectly legal, but not optimal. And so you end up losing the game from a blunder.
But how does this support your claim about rule-based systems?
Because the first inkling that rule-based systems are mathematically chaotic is children's board games. That's your first evidence.
But that's okay. That's why games are called games.
Right. And the rule of law is a rule-based system.
Yeah, but that doesn't translate
game.
Immediately, though. That's too easy in inference. It's fallacious.
The point is that what lawyers do is they play chess. The smarter lawyer wins.
Yeah.
Finding a loophole is finding a legal move that the rules allowed you to make that nobody anticipated.
No, absolutely. We probably suspect, although we could probably easily prove, that the compendium of all laws created are very inconsistent.
Oh, yeah, they are. That's called an antinomy. Do you know what antinomy is? It's two laws that whatever you do, you're violating one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
there's to find the right precedent, cite that, and then make the other precedent irrelevant.
Yeah, there's a term that lawyers use called lawfare, and lawfare is basically using the system of law like you play a game of chess. The smartest guy comes up with a perfectly legal move that basically knocks the system out of to what people would call injustice, unfairness.
Yeah.
And then they
what's happening right now. This is what's happening right now. Look at all things happening.
Right. And what's going to happen is that Trump is going to play the system against itself. He's going to game the system.
He's not going to win, though.
His
lawyers are being indicted. His lawyers are stupid, and he's getting rid of his lawyers. And fewer and fewer lawyers are going to want to get indicted. So fewer and fewer lawyers are going to work for him.
But he's also going to provide more real-time evidence that the rule of law doesn't work as advertised.
That's right.
It doesn't work as advertised.
Right.
It's not law and order. It's law and drama. It's basic legal. Look at the series on NBC, Law and Order. That was the title of the series. But every single episode, you're sitting on the edge of your seat because you have no idea how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Every single episode of Law and Order was basically you might as well roll the dice.
Yeah.
It would turn on the tiniest little detail that you didn't foresee, and that's the mathematical definition of chaos.
This is why I keep saying law is fixed. Human behavior is not fixed, and you have trouble with that. That's simple as that.
Most of those cases turned on some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some little loophole or something that flipped it, that basically you say, well, the law didn't do the job it's advertised to do. the bad guy got off or the wrong guy got convicted, you know, or it was a hung jury. It didn't do the job. And the defendant, it didn't improve their future behavior. It didn't make the defendant become an ethical, you know, good citizen in the future.
Okay, but so I still think that your jump from chaos to laws don't work, you know, there's a lot of assumptions built in there, presumptions. So that's what I wanted to tease out at some point, but it's already 10 o'clock.
Okay. Just point out, people are surprised when the law works.
Well,
It's the uncommon thing.
the other aspect is you talk about laws and people. Well, people actually create a lot of inconsistent laws. The inconsistency of people is built into the way the laws are written. Look at all the what do they call it? Pork. Look at all the riders. Look at all the special conditions, you know. Yeah.
And then look at the internet. The internet is protocol-based, function-based, model-based, and the machines on the internet do not fight with each other. They cooperate,
but they fundamentally still work on software that follows if-then. So that's why I wanted
to
also
understand protocols.
What you said about if-then rules.
They're called protocols and functions.
Protocols are rules.
They're not. That's why they have
very. Internet is inflexible, not like human being. If you let
they have a negotiation process to negotiate
the
highest level of cooperation that they can both support.
That's right.
Yes.
The negotiation process is fixed.
Yes.
Predictable.
Yes. ICMP is already written.
Yeah. That's the difference. The difference again. When you have a fixed structure versus the inflexible structure, it's like sort of like having a see, that's how even eggshell have germs that can get into the eggshell. It's like it's fixed, and germs that's not fixed, you can get into the eggshell.
But look at the collision avoidance. You roll the dice, you roll a random number to determine how far you back off, and that's a function. And how do you make a rule that gives you a random function, like backing off on collision avoidance?
The introduction of a random number doesn't negate that it's still a rule.
But it uses a mathematical function inside the rule. It's not an if, then, or else.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Let me put it this way. The random number generator is random creating something. Okay. The chance of finding that go around the rule is very small. When you have a compare reason to go around the rule, you will find it because it's the sort of thing this way. When you try to put something wrong, you go to Google something wrong facts on Google, and the Google will give it to you. Then you can prove that something was wrong, and the vice versa, right? So anyway.
But it's not all of null, it's all of one. The function is not all of null, it's a continuum. Because it has an infinite number of decimal places.
That'd be an interesting topic. I wish we can talk about next Saturday. How's that?
Whenever.
Oh, whenever. Sounds
yeah,
good.
that's what I wanted to double click on, because this whole rules and chaos business isn't quite so simple.
That's why it took until the second half of the 20th century for the smartest people on the planet to figure it out. Poincaré.
Okay, so Barry, let me leave you with this one random note, okay? I just asked ChatGPT, are protocols based on rules? ChatGPT responds, yes. Protocols are typically based on rules. In various contexts, a protocol refers to a set of rules or guidelines that define how communication
or guidelines
should take place.
Or guidelines.
Guidelines are rules.
No, they're not. Why would he say rules or guidelines if they're the same thing? They're not synonyms.
Okay, what's the difference? What's the difference?
Guidelines are guidelines that got rails.
Yeah.
Tracks on the train are tracks. Guardrails. You can go hit the guardrail. You don't have to hit the guardrail. You can be far away from the guardrail. You don't have to use the guardrail. But the train track is fixed.
The airport has one guideline down the middle, not two lane lines on the outside. Mathematically speaking, one guideline that you try to zero out the difference from versus two guardrails you try to stay away from.
Yep.
Mathematically, huge difference.
Yeah,
huge difference. Ask your dad. Huge difference. Zero out the error from a guideline.
They're mappable to the same thing, Barry. They're mappable.
What? try
You
to
can
do the
map
math.
the two curves to a single curve.
Have you ever tried to make a robot that either followed the guideline or stayed away from the rails? Completely different software.
Okay, try
One
this.
of them works and the other one doesn't. One of them works because it uses calculus. The one that uses the guideline uses calculus.
That's a how question, Barry. That's a how question.
Have you ever tried to do calculus with rules? Try to do calculus with if, then, or else.
Yeah,
I dare you to do the calculus with if, then, or else. Good luck.
Yeah.
Why do you think people fall off the boat at algebra? Because it isn't if, then, or else. That's why it took so long to get the calculus. It's not if, then, or else. It's limits of infinite series. How do you compute the limit of an infinite series with if, then, or else?
I don't understand the point.
It's an infinite series. You have to do an arbitrary number of cycles to get arbitrarily close.
So what? It's doable.
The rule of law doesn't do an infinite number of trials. If you've been tried and you have one judgment, you stop. No double jeopardy. Where in calculus, you keep going forever until you get arbitrarily close to the goal. You don't do it just one loop and stop.
Yeah.
If there else is once and stop.
Okay, so if you're talking about that case, I agree with you, right? It's all based, the current legal system is based on a bunch of static assumptions. Let's say $7.25 per hour that was established, 20 or 30 years ago, right? It should have been based on, as you say, a function
exactly
of cost of living,
computed
real estate prices,
every
food
time.
prices, gas prices, whatever, okay?
Right.
That would have been more fair, right?
But we more functional.
Understood that. Because now you're going to have people that game the system. I'm going to change the price of real estate. I'm going to change the price of gas. I'm going to change the way this is constructed. I'm going to change the time period in which this is, calculated. All that sort of business, right?
Yeah,
those are all still gaming. So you can still game it even if you have functions.
If you have the right functions, and this is somebody got the Nobel Prize for this. There's a branch of economics called mechanism design. Look it up. Three guys got the Nobel Prize for mechanism design. In mechanism design, there is no advantage to cheating. The optimal thing to do is also the ethical thing to do.
Wow.
They got the Nobel Prize for this idea, it must have been 15 years ago.
Mechanism design. Something
called mechanism design. It's very obscure. You'd be hard-pressed to, I'm sure you can find a Wikipedia article about it, but it is a mechanism that if you deviate from the optimum, which is also ethical, you lose.
How is this different than the fundamental Nash's theorem? It says mechanism design is a branch of microeconomics that explores how businesses and institutions can achieve desirable social or economic outcomes given the constraints of individual self-interest and incomplete information. How is that different from Nash?
Nash's equilibrium applies to two-person zero-sum games. But economics is not a two-person game and it's not zero-sum.
Yeah,
you can create wealth out of
Nash's theory underlies all of economics thinking.
It's the kindergarten beginning.
Everybody still says this is based on economics. We're just modeling people as selfish, entities. In mechanism design, it's still based on individual self-interest.
Games and Economic Choice was the title of the book by, remind me who wrote the book. Von Neumann and Morgenstern. John von Neumann. John von Neumann and Oscar Morgenstern, I think is wrote the book on game theory, the very first text on game theory, Games and Economic Choice. John von Neumann wasn't rule-based. He got us into outer space. I mean, he got the bomb. I mean, these are the guys who use mathematics at the level that people had never seen before. Wasn't if, then, or else, because bureaucrats didn't make the bomb. Bureaucrats didn't get us to the moon. They decided to pay for it. The people with deep math, like your dad, figured out how to do it. Differential equations and all kinds of complicated math that the average person, if you try to explain to them, their eyes would glaze over.
All right, we are 10 minutes over.
Okay, next Saturday. Let's
Saturday.
continue this next Saturday. I'm looking. See, we finally got some energy here.
Now we have compelling reason to look forward to it. Okay.
All right.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.